Hello, this is Nick here from Gorgon Reviews. I am talking to Jackie Christie, the director of the film Magic Hour. Magic Hour was picked to be the opening night film for the Cascadia International Women's Film Festival 2025 this year in Bellingham. Magic Hour is about Harriet, a woman who wanted to be a filmmaker, but instead got stuck in a bad marriage with a kid who might hate her, and Harriet's attempts at rekindling that lost passion. So, first, thank you for spending your time here today.
Sorry, once again. Thank you. What?
Yeah, just for spending your time here.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I'm so delighted to be talking to you. And by the way, that was a fantastic, introduction to the movie. So thank you.
Great. Now, because we have a movie about movie making, I must know what's the first movie you saw in theaters growing up?
Oh, what an incredible question. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you the first one that popped into my mind. I can't assure you that it really is the first one,
Mhm.
but we were taken, my family, my dad, I guess, took us to a special presentation of Gone with the Wind.
Mhm.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So it was like, a while ago, when they would occasionally bring back an old movie and show it in an actual theater. So there it is.
How'd you handle the, what is it, almost 4 hour runtime?
I can tell you what, I have a background in theater. My dad's a theater director and was the chair of Villanova Theater Department forever. So I'm used to being in audiences. I'm used to being in, theaters, in movie theaters. Like I'm a nerd about all that stuff and always have been. So I think my parents, to save money on babysitting, would put like me, my brother and sister in the audience during rehearsals, and they would be like 8 hours long. And sometimes we would like, you know, probably nap or misbehave. But a lot of times we were just like, fascinated, just looking at the actors, and I was like, I want to do that. So I handled the long runtime just fine. I loved it.
Well, that's great because I was going to point out that you've at this point already acted, directed, produced things, and I was going to say what set you up on this journey and how'd you know you wanted to be in the business? So it was your upraising in the theater?
Yeah, I think I just have to say that it's like kind of boring, but yes, that's true. And my mom's a music teacher, so she's also in the arts as well. And so I think I just have been in love with theater all my life, but I've also been in love with film. And to kind of approach your question this way, it actually took me a long time to come around to doing film. And I think theater felt very natural because did theater my whole life. And then you might already know this or maybe not, but I started a theater space in New York and spent a
Mhm.
huge portion of my adult life running that space and, producing, essentially nurturing and producing the work of other people, and became a little more of an arts administrator rather than an artist myself. And started to lose touch, with my own creative voice. And I think I felt like comfortable in the background, supporting other people. But then I was eventually like, I have to be courageous and be willing to put myself out there and put my own, voice kind of in the spotlight. So it took me a while to get there, but basically I decided to like take that dream and really put it to the test and go for it. And that's when I applied to film school.
Mm. So before Magic Hour, you did direct a few short films, and you were also noted as an assistant director for a lot of projects. The
Yes,
most well-known being Radium Girls. So this is really a two-part question.
sure.
How did you first get involved in directing anything from the theater to, shorts? And then how'd you get involved with the Radium Girls project?
Yeah, great question. So I did theater forever. I started my theater space and so I directed that. So that felt very comfortable. And then I applied to NYU graduate film program and I'm very lucky to get in because I love that program. I was not as young as my classmates, which is when you see the movie, it's not an autobiographical movie, but there's a little bit of truth in it and there's a little bit of that, a little bit of me in it. So that's how I started working in film. I really had very little experience. I I I don't know why NYU let me in, but I think it was my background in theater, working with actors and writing and dialogue, and those things do carry over really quite well from theater to film. But I was terrified of the technical stuff. I really didn't know how to even see things through a lens. Theater, it's like the audience is over there and they stay there the whole time, and the actors are usually over there. But like with this camera, you can go any way you want. So I still, struggle with that. But to answer your question about the AD stuff, so in film school, you have to get good at something because everybody's a director, everyone's a writer director, and there's only one director for one project, and you have to like help each other out. That's the whole way it works at NYU. So you want to get good at something, and some people get good at editing or sound or some additional thing on top of being a director to to kind of make yourself useful to your classmates because you want to be invited to participate in everyone else's movies because that's how you learn. So I just started ADing for my classmates,
Mhm.
and there's an element of just it's not a creative job, but it's a very important job in terms of just making it all happen and organizing time and organizing people, knowing what all departments are supposed to be doing at any given time, and seeing if there are problems and trying to preempt problems. So it's a really good job in terms of understanding how set works. So I did a lot of that in film school, and based on that, I was then asked to AD for Radium Girls was my first feature that I AD'd. And I also AD'd the New York unit of Equity, which is another feature film as well. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh, for sure. And you
Okay.
briefly brought up, well, you were obviously the writer of this movie,
Yeah.
and you said this one's not autobiographical, just a little bit about you. Is that what you said?
Yeah. That's what I
Okay,
said.
just checking. Um,
Yeah.
for Magic Hour, you were the sole director and a producer and writer. But what was the hardest part about getting this film filmed for you?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I will tell you that I have such tremendous respect for producers. I always have, but now more than ever I do because I ended up being the lead producer on this movie, as is the case for many writer directors for their first feature. And the producing took like all my time and effort. The writing and directing was like the most fun part, and but it was also like time and effort wise the smallest part. So hopefully for my next movie, I'll have a producer who loves producing and I'll just do the writing, directing, the fun stuff. But yeah, I would say the producing is pretty intense because a producer just makes it happen. And so you have to have cast and you have to have locations and you have to have all the resources. And so gathering those up with, a limited budget and limited everything, and without any prior experience, for me as a feature director, you have to talk people into working with you,
Mhm.
everyone, cast, crew, people who you want to ask to contribute locations or other things. So I think the logistical elements were sort of the hardest things. Interestingly, creatively, I feel like we've gotten into a really good groove. So I feel like that was the exciting part and challenging, of course, but it wasn't like for me the hardest part. You know what I'm saying? If that felt most like comfortable and natural.
Glad you brought up getting the cast and crew to work with you because that's my next questions.
Ah,
Our lead character is played by Miriam Shore.
yes.
She apparently had a really good 2023 because she was both in Maestro and American Fiction, which were both nominated for Oscars. So congrats on her.
Yeah.
How'd she get involved in the project and how'd you know that she was the right person for your role?
Yeah, she's so amazing. I'm in awe of her talent and just a phenomenal actress, phenomenal human. Um, I guess if I go way back, I can say this. I have a writing group. I run a writing group. I'm also in a separate writing group. I'm in a writing group, so I'm kind of obsessed with them.
Mhm.
So in one of my writing groups, there's a wonderful actor, Patrick Breen, and he's a known, actor on Broadway and movies and TV. Anyway, and he's in Magic Hour too. But I think the fact that he accepted the part because he knew the script, I was developing it in the writing group, um, and his agent is the same agent as Miriam Schur's agent, the same agency that Sendel Ramamurti is at. And I think it helps to have like the first person sign on that makes other people say, "Oh, he's willing to do it. He's got good taste. Maybe I'll look at this script." And then you have to get them to look at the script. So I think that was the first little anchor, if you will, of someone saying, "Hey, I've signed on to this. I think it's worthwhile. Maybe you should look at it too." So that was like a vote of confidence, I should say. And then, and then it kind of built from there. But then in terms of how I knew she was right for it, that's a phenomenal question because without giving anything away, the movie sometimes wants to be completely played for laughs. It's just some scenes I wrote and I just want them to be funny and I want the audience laugh. Some scenes I wrote purely for drama, very sincere, no irony, just full on heart on your sleeve drama. But a lot of the scenes, most of them, my favorite ones, are both at the same time. And it's almost impossible to get someone to do that. And they're phenomenal dramatic actresses and phenomenal comedic actresses. But people who can do both and people who can do both at exactly the same time, I had not seen anyone. And I was searching the world for that. And I was worried I wouldn't find someone. And so when I discovered Miriam Schur, I saw like anything I could get my hands on, I watched her do. And she can do anything. And I saw her in many, many different things, and I was like, okay, she's the one, and she was the one. She picked up
Mm.
the script and she knew instantly what to do, how to play each moment, each scene, the way I was hoping that we would find that balance. And then she brought even more than that I hadn't expected as well. So yeah, she's a real gift.
And so the another lead role went to, as you mentioned, Sindel Ramamurthy, who
Yes.
you said was in the same agency as
Yeah.
the other two. So
Yeah.
that's the how he got involved. And I know when I saw the poster, I was like, ah, he looks so familiar. And it took me a
Yeah.
little bit, but I was like, oh, he was in Heroes. He played Mohinder Suresh, which was one of the main characters of that TV show from like a decade ago or plus.
Yes.
So how I guess you already answered how he got involved. So how did you know he was right?
Yeah, that's a great question. And by the way, I actually don't know if he was at that agency at that time,
Hmm.
but my I have to give my casting director credit because she's the one who knew about Sendil, and I have to give her credit for every single member of the cast. She helped get everybody. Um, but Sendil told me the reason he accepted the part was there's a monologue in there that I think he does so beautifully. And without giving any of the plot away, it's about not losing your integrity in the process of living a life, especially in the process of living a life in a world that is often compromised, especially in the film industry, where people can be unkind, let's say, or
Mhm.
compromise their integrity in other ways. And he's a man who's not willing to do that. And I think I can say that without giving anything further away about the story. But he has incredible integrity. And when I as a human and as an actor, Sendil does. And when I wrote the part, I wrote it as the perfect man because I wanted her. I wanted, well, anyway, you don't know the story, but I wanted that. I wanted that to be possible in the context of the story. And I mean, Sendel's pretty perfect. I have to tell you, he's just charming and he's smart and he's talented and he's just, this kind of radiant person with this incredibly kind, positive spirit. So when I saw him, met him, saw his work, I was just like, please, please take this part. Please take this part. And when he did, I just was jumping for joy. He's just really great in the movie.
Awesome. What are you hoping the audience gets out of the movie Magic Hour when they watch it?
Yeah, so I have a big hope, and the hope is that they they will feel that they resonate with this idea of putting off your dream and procrastinating and saying, nobody cares what I have to say, or my dream is too silly, or it's too late. And I hope the audience will see the movie and feel akin to the main character and say to themselves, like, maybe it's not too late. And maybe I can test that dream and you only live once and we're here right now. And if you don't do it now, like if you wait till you get in shape and get your finances together, get your romantic life together, clean out the garage, your dreams are going to be in the bottom of the list and it's never going to happen. So my message is no matter how neurotic you are, do it anyway. No matter how much of a mess your life is, take that and bring it to whatever your passion is, whatever your dream is, because your untested destiny, that's just an idea, this pure little idea that you might cherish in the back of your mind. You don't want that to die with you. You want to put it out there and put it to the test. And the transformation happens within that. It doesn't happen before that. Like you become superwoman and then you make your dream come true. It's completely the opposite. It's like you have to take your big mess of a life and yourself and put it out there and live the dream that you feel that you were meant to live. I feel like if people can feel even a little bit more fired up about that, that will have made this movie worth it. So that's what I really want. I want people to jump out of their seats and say, I'm going to go back to grad school or I'm going to start my cupcake shop or whatever it is that they want to do. That's what I
Yeah.
want.
Um, Finally, I know the movie's played at other festivals at this point, but I don't know if Cascadia is the first time it was an opening night movie. And what were your feelings when you found out it was chosen for that honor?
Oh my gosh. I cannot tell you how honored and thrilled I am to be the opening night at Cascadia. I'm in total alignment with all of the mission and the ideals of Cascadia. I'm hugely honored that this movie, that's a huge labor of love for me and for everyone who worked on it, is going to be highlighted in this way. It's a huge honor for us. We're a pretty small movie, and so to have this honor, it's incredibly meaningful and incredibly impactful for us on our journey. So I'm very grateful to Cascadia.
Once again, thank you so much for spending your time answering some questions about Magic Hour and your career up to this point. It is the opening night movie at the Cascadia International Women's Film Festival on Bellingham, Thursday, April 24th. Jackie will be there to do a live Q&A after the film. I also will be there, but I'm just going to be an audience member, so yeah. But hope to see everyone else there too.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to hear what you think of the film, and I can't wait to hear what your audience and your followers think of it as well.
Mhm.